Yo, what is up? You have found We Like the Blazers. I am your host, Ryan Whitty Whitledge, and joining me on the other side of the computer screen with what I still no, don't you give me the nose. I'm still weirded out by your mic cover, but Brandon Goldner, how are you doing? Happy Walls Day to you. How's your day going?
From the weirdo to the walls till the sweat drips down. I'm good, man. And yeah, this mic cover. By the way, shout out to Terry, who is the artist behind both the Third Bench logo and this cool Blazers yin yang logo. Yeah, I have to figure out how to. We got the whole summer to figure this out, but the room is still bouncy. This is insulated. It's supposed to cut some of the bounce. I don't know how much it actually works. You're searching behind you for something. I don't know what you're doing. I have to vamp here until you're done. But yeah, man, I'm good. Had a golf lesson today. It was the second one I've had. Shout out to Brandon Deggins, who is a PGA trained golf professional and who's been helping me. I will say, Ryan, if you have ever, if you've ever done a thing and then began taking lessons after you've already been doing the thing, there's a combination of emotions that happen from hope and elation to, wow, like I'm getting better, I'm learning something, to the absolute depths of despair when you realize you're deconstructing something as complicated as a golf swing. And man, today was very difficult, and it's going to take a lot of motivation and trusting the process for me to pull through. But yeah, man, things are good. How are you? How are things on your end?
I have done that. By the way, I was searching because my one of my two dogs, my little Chihuahua, she tends to suffer from separation anxiety, and so the wife is out and about and running errands, and so I brought the dog up here, and she for some reason does not want to lay in her little bed that I brought up here, and so all as I'm hearing behind me is just the little pitter patter of her feet on my floor. And so I was trying to rearrange her bed to be like, no, you stay here, so that that's fair. Just for the listeners, so they do not hear just little pitter pattering of dog feet behind me or think that I installed a waterfall feature or something. But no, I do
seen. So thank you to our YouTube audience.
I do sympathize with the teaching yourself something and then going and taking lessons on it. Not to the level of golf, and not necessarily in my adult life, but I had never snowboarded before. And when I was 16, one of my best friends, her mom took us up to Mount Hood, and we did snowboard rentals and all that. And I had about 3 or 4 hours on the mountain just to myself, and kind of like teaching myself how to not fall on my ass.
Stuff. Yeah.
And her mom ended up, once she had found out that I had never snowboarded before, just bought us both lessons. And so after 3 or 4 hours on the mountain and figuring it out on my own, then I went and took a lesson for beginners. And then the very first time down the mountain after the lessons, I found myself naturally doing like what I had taught myself before the lessons, and then in my brain it clicked, oh wait, no, you're supposed to do this, and overcorrected and biffed it and smashed my head into the snow and gave myself a concussion, and the rest of the time on the mountain was horrible.
Oh shit.
That sucks. Because I was just trying to remember.
I was multiple thoughts in your head, and you're fighting the muscle memory that you built, and you're thinking thoughts that
Yeah, and so I'm sure like that'll translate over. Like if you I'm sure if I ever went and took golf lessons, it's gonna be weird for me, because like all the golfing I've done is self-taught. So I'm sure my swing is horrible, my stance is all wrong. I'm pulling instead of pushing where all this stuff where I should. And then the first couple times that I'll probably play after I would ever get lessons, it's totally going to screw with me, because I'm going to be halfway through what feels natural, and then my brain will go, nope, don't do that, correct this. And, then I'm losing all the golf balls.
I will, yes. And I will say, like, as an adult, one thing that's helpful is even that, I was getting pretty frustrated afterward. I got a bucket of balls to practice what we'd gone through, telling myself it's a process. And so that's helpful. As a kid, I think when you're learning, it's harder to like tell yourself that you may not. So whatever. So even though I'm not feeling it, I'm thinking it. And then the other thing is that like this instructor is really good about like, hey, I'm not going to put too many thoughts in your brain. Here's what we're focusing on. Do this. Do it again. Go back. Look at yourself in the mirror. See that? Nope. This up here. There you go. Now go. okay, now do it again. And so at least I know what I have to work on, Ryan. Unlike some of these teams, I don't know, this is a bad transition because I'm actually not controlling the show. Why don't I just hand it right back to you? We've decided that we're going to stay away from politics stuff. So the jokes we had at the beginning are as much as we're going to say about it. I think that's a fair assumption. Although at some point, Ryan, we should get you on Remember Poli Sci. My brother and I are recording probably at some point this week, and probably going to be just us two. But the next time I'll be giving you a call. But for today's show, our basketball
I don't get the post Walls announcement bump. God, can I make a pitch? My family comes from Minnesota. I have time that I've spent in Minnesota. My extended family is still out in Minnesota. I can offer a Minnesotan perspective.
That's a good point. And so we're negotiating when we're recording this. So I'll keep you in mind, and maybe we can make it work for everybody. I mean, the thing is that you and my brother both are like responsible adults. Actually, I could break maybe on the show. I can break that I've signed an offer letter for a job, just waiting for that drug test to come back. Hopefully all that heroin. No, just kidding. But yeah, so that should be finalized soon. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, you and my brother are both busier than I am at the current moment. But Ryan, enough about us, even though that is why people tune in, because they love you and they tolerate me. What are we talking about today?
We got a couple things on deck. It's been long feared that the Blazers are gonna, leave the city, and they had a lease agreement that came up. So we'll chat about that in a little bit. People are massively overreacting, in my opinion, to some Scoot Henderson news on an agent change. But I wanted to start off with the thing that I think everybody's mostly watching sports wise, and that's the Olympics. And I'll just start it off with this. Have you partaken much in Olympic viewing? Not just basketball and whether it's the full Olympic teams, men or women's
Olympic sports. I'm like, no, sir, I have not.
Well, hey, if we learned anything from shooting, you can just go through a horrible divorce, take up a hobby, and then become an Olympic medalist at it. So, by the way, do you think that is the weirdest story ever? That the shooter, I can't remember what country he's from. I think it was Turkey. Whatever.
Correct.
But goes through a horrible divorce and then takes up shooting. Like, does his ex-wife read that news story and go like, "This is alarming"?
Yeah, I mean,
you became an Olympic level shooter out of anger at me.
On the one hand, you're like, oh, cool. Like, he invested his time and energy learning a skill. On the other hand, it's shooting a gun. So yeah, that is a little strange. Was that the dude who was like very nonchalant about it with the hand in the pocket, and he didn't have all the fancy stuff? Yeah.
You're seeing all the
sensation.
And I love it. And the pole vaulter whose penis did not get in the way of his jump and set a new world record from Sweden. He actually struck the shooter pose, put the hand out or like kind of in his waistband and just kind of stood back like that as an homage to that when he just set a new world record yesterday. But in that regard, have you been watching the Olympics in general, and are you an Olympics fan?
Yeah, we have been watching. I'd say I'm a fan. It's fun to all the different sports they have: skateboarding, rock climbing, kayaking, 3-on-3 basketball. Sorry, 3v3 basketball. It actually is. It's pretty cool. It reminds me of like the first couple of Olympic Games in the modern era. Ryan, did you know that they had different competitions that we do no longer have today, such as architecture, sculpture, poetry? Can you imagine poetry as an Olympic sport? I love it. And I think like
I can. I think the one I'm most interested in would be sculpture. Like, what's your time limit? And like, is it just they plop a block of marble in front of you and they're like, begin? And then it's like, what can you do in like 3 hours?
To be honest. So yeah, man, I've been watching. A, have you been watching? And B, just going to slide this question in here because I have an answer to it. As you've been watching, are there any either brand new competitions you wish could be incorporated into the Olympics, or like maybe a modification of an existing one that you're like, I'd really like to see that? So yeah, what's your level of Olympic interest?
I have been watching. It has been on in my house probably nonstop since the start. The wife and I, and it's not really anything that we ever just. It's one of those weird things where it's like you just find out about these your partner's interest in things.
Like, I guess the Olympics are happening now.
I've always been an Olympics junkie. I'm a bigger fan of the summer games than I am the winter games, because the summer games has so many sports that I grew up playing. And so, like, when my wife and I got together, I can say I would have cleared that jump, but but no, like 4 years ago was the first Summer Olympics games of our relationship. As we had been dating, we had been together for a couple of years by then, but actually married a couple of years together by then. Sorry, I forget, we're almost going on a decade now. But it was just, that's when I was like, wait, you like the Olympics? She's like, oh yeah, it was on all the time. And so I will turn the TV on and I will turn it to Peacock before I leave for work in the morning. I will turn it to Peacock and I will turn it on Gold Zone, which is an absolute freaking gem of a program for watching Olympic sports coverage. My only complaint is that it turns off.
Get it?
Yes. Sorry. Yes. The joke was there, but bump. But no, I absolutely love the Gold Zone. It is a fantastic. I don't know if it can't be a ripoff. There has to be somebody has to be paying money to the NFL for them copying the Red Zone. But it's so great because it bounces around to so many sports. You have quad view. You can select right from there. It literally takes you to if anybody's going to be setting a world record, winning a medal, all that stuff. The sports that I pay attention to the most, I'm a big track and field guy. So I shot put watching Ryan Corser, who's local guy from down in Boring, Oregon, watching him for the third straight year, medal in it, just absolutely destroying the competition. I felt so bad. There was, I want to say, a Jamaican shot putter who it started raining when they were going through their final throws and just absolutely slipped on his turn and biffed it. And his official throw was like 1.5 meters.
Well, there was
it was so tragic to watch. But anyways, yeah.
Well, just quickly, it's funny you say that because we were watching shot put. Unfortunately, there was a competitor from New Zealand, Aotearoa, New Zealand, who got hurt, and so he couldn't. His last few were not very good. But I noticed something, Ryan. The competitors, if they had a throw they didn't like, they would then step on the little box thing to disqualify the throw and not have it
to get a fault. Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like, come on. Like, are you really like...
That should count as a zero. Like, if you're going to have a throw you don't like and you don't want it to go towards your aggregate, then it should count as a zero. It shouldn't be a no countsies. But
did you watch any skateboarding though?
I did, and I asked my kids what they were doing with their life because it was the women's street skate final, and every competitor out there was 13 and 14 years old, and I had my 13 and 14-year-old down doing chores at the time, and I just kept pointing to the TV. I was like, "You're older than that kid. You're older than that kid.
Stop doing the laundry and get your ass on the skateboard. You've got rubber bones, and you're not going to get hurt, so get out there and do it."
My daughter, the only one of the two that knows she can probably get away with it, and so she clapped back and said, "How many Olympic medals do you have again, Dad?" So, point taken, and then I stopped.
Count it.
So yeah, we've watched some of that. I've probably watched more 3v3 than I have regular Olympic basketball, just because I am absolutely fascinated that an entire version of the sport that Ice Cube invented, popularized, is now an Olympic sport. He turned a 3v3 into a professional league, and it's now in the Olympics.
It's like the pickleball to tennis. You know what I mean? Like it's like 3v3 is to basketball, pickleball is to tennis. You've taken the sport, you've shrunk it down, right? Less cardiovascular demand. It's why you can have Jimmer Fredette apparently on the team. Like, By the way, like America taking
he's
this.
He's out. He just went through catastrophic injury. He has to have multiple surgeries.
Okay, shout out, prayers up to Jimmer, but like, the U.S. taking this not seriously at all. Yeah, 3-on-3 is cool. Like, I get it. Like, it's a more, compact version. There's less time commitment.
It's more relatable to the average fan. I mean, who hasn't just played a pickup game in a rec gym?
Right. It's easier to keep track of everybody at the same time, right? Keep track of 6 people rather than 10. Reminds me a little bit of at the beginning of the Olympics, the rugby sevens, rather than 15 aside rugby union, they had rugby sevens, 7 aside. And those games went quick. They went really fast. They were done what they're like 25-minute games. Anyway.
Yeah. And in regards to a game, if I could tweak anything with any Olympic sport, archery, it's too high tech. And as somebody
flaming
who grew
arrows is what you're saying.
Not flaming arrows, though.
Shooting an apple off of someone's head?
I'm open to both these ideas. I can be convinced to allow these in there.
Liability insurance would be through the roof.
There's going to need to be a little bit more stringent qualification processes for those. But no, I think it's become too high tech. The compound bows nowadays, I say if you want to do this, let's bring it back to old school Robin Hood medieval style. Just get a basic bow and then let me see how well you can shoot.
Have them make it. They get them. It's like Survivor Challenge. They have the materials. They have to construct the bow. And that would actually be, it would be a little
So
extra.
now you have that old school callback, like sculpting, in which we opened with talking about. You are sculpting your own bow, and then you must shoot it. Okay.
And you must shoot it.
Now,
I like it.
I think I'm okay with that. I'm also okay with the fact that the sculpting and making of your own bow can be an off-camera thing. That I can just know that you did it, but you have to do it like the day before you shoot, and it has to be judged. Like, just give me what your sculpting score was, or what your building score was, and then let me see you shoot.
I like that too. We could split the middle and they get the bow all the same, string all the same. They have to string the bow so that the tension, right? Like the knots, like maybe they're allowed to like gently modify the bow. Anyway, we can figure this out.
But yeah, that's my biggest modification. I want to see old school archery.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like the new bows, they have like 17 different pulleys. And so you pull it back this much and it creates this much tension. It's like, are you really doing anything at that point? The modification I want to see, Ryan, is in swimming. As you may or may not know, my understanding is that when you are swimming, you have 15 meters to stay under the water before you have to then crest and begin whatever stroke you're competing in. Ryan,
I believe it's 20, I believe.
Fair enough. Ryan, I think we should create the dolphin stroke. Get under the water, hold your breath, and keep going. Let them go as far as they want to go. If they want to stay under the water the whole time, let them. If someone's got such big lungs, they can take a big breath and they can just stay under the water for like a minute, 90 seconds, and they're just screaming under there. Why not let them do it? Let's create this new dolphin stroke. It would be good TV. They would go faster. It would be really interesting. It'd be compelling. Like, come on, let's make it happen.
How many more medals would Michael Phelps have won if that was allowed? Because I mean, it's the to kind of gently bridge a topic. Like there was all of that weird fucking fuss about the Albanian female boxer and all that crap and misinformation about her, and claiming that she was a man that was beating up women. All of that not true. But the thing that I find the most humorous about that is they say, it's an unfair advantage if a man were to compete in a woman's sport for the Olympics because just genetically there's X, Y, and Z. Look at Michael Phelps. He is literally double jointed. His body produces less lactic acid than so his muscles get tired. It takes way longer for his muscles to get tired. He has double the average lung capacity. Like all these other physical attributes that put him so far and away, that are all genetic, that put him so far and away ahead of all these other swimmers. My sidetrack tangent on that. If you're going to bitch about one thing, you got to bitch about, it's called being an Olympic athlete. But how many, I shudder to think about the number of Olympic medals that somebody with twice the lung capacity of any other swimmer in the pool, how many more he could, I'd say, what's he good for? Like 2.5 trips back before he's got to come up? Like, does he make literally only one physical breaststroke in the whole race?
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Like and actually, I mean, maybe we will get into it, but like, I think you bring up a good point. It's like, the categories that we've had since time immemorial with sports have been by gender, right? Men, women, right? Men compete over there, women compete over there. And the point being, as you were saying, because, men have certain physical advantages that women generally don't enjoy, right? So it's unfair. And to your point, yes, there are men and women who have enormous genetic advantages. So here's what I'd like to see, Ryan. I would like to see, not today, but someday, that we can get smart enough to start categorizing people based on their biological baseline. Think about it this way: wrestling, boxing, how do we categorize them? By weight class, right? So, and we have men and women's division, but then we're basically saying, hey, if you're heavier, right, you might have more of an advantage. So we're not going to put up this 125-pound dude against someone who weighs 225. So let's just take that a couple steps further. And yeah, I'd love to see it. I would love to see, Ryan, one day in 2045, there's an NBA for average athleticism, middle-aged men just like me, where I can compete and make millions of dollars. Let's go. But no, I think it's a good point. Like, and it's true. Like, how are you supposed to control for all of this stuff, right? Like, it's just so, yeah. Anyway, we're going to push that aside. Swimming underwater, let's see it. Would love to see it. I think it'd be fun. Let's do it.
I hate to burst your bubble, but in 2045, you will no longer be in the middle-aged man age category. So sorry.
Medical science is going to come so far. I am going to de-age. My hair will become even blonder. It's going to be just fabulous. You just wait and see, buddy. It's going to be great. We're living in weird times.
While we're talking about swimming, there's a massive underutilization of the underwater camera in this year's swimming events. I feel as though in years past,
the dolphin stroke.
Yeah, I feel in years past there have been a lot more underwater camera shots, which I always previously thought was weird, but now that they're not there, I feel like I'm missing something. So NBC, Peacock, call me. I'll with no experience whatsoever, I will tell you how to do your job better.
Get a Google Pixel and put it under the water. You'll be fine.
And for the dolphin swim, you can put the GoPro on a live dolphin that you unleash in the pool.
Yes, humans v dolphins. That's what we need, actually. Let's do that.
Kind of like what was it? I think, wasn't it Michael Phelps that did the man versus shark? And then it was that huge lead up to that thing years ago. And then turns out it was man versus computer generated shark, who we said swims this fast. We can't actually put him in the water with a shark. And yet, well, we all nodded our heads and we're like, no, that makes sense. I feel as though the country was collectively disappointed and be like, but we still want to see him race a fucking shark.
That'd be great.
You promised a shark.
A little dangerous, but yeah. I mean, can't you just put the shark in a different lane and just drag some food in front of it? Anyway.
Well, that's what they did, but they made it virtual. Like, they had the buoys and the lanes set up, and so like I think
in a long cage. I feel like you could do it.
When I went to go watch that, I was like, oh my god, they're actually going to release a shark, and then it started, and here comes CGI fake shark, and I'm like, what the hell's the point of the lanes?
I feel like they could have pulled that off, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, continuing on.
All right, so I think we're done with the Olympics. It's fun. I love it. Gold Zone. If you have the ability to, if you have Peacock, watch it. Help me join my change.org petition of that they must carry the coverage on farther than 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want that shit from 5 o'clock in the morning until at least 5 o'clock at night. I don't care what kind of union contract those 4 individuals have signed. They will work and they will dance for me.
He cares about what time it is in Los Angeles, California, because he's in the Pacific time zone. Come on.
You're in Paris. If you complain about, I'm having to work too much in Paris,
they're making them swim in a poop river, Ryan. Hey, by the way, one more thing on this. The Seine River, right, in Paris, they cleaned it.
That they spent 8 months cleaning and trying to get it passing E. coli tests?
I feel compelled, Ryan, to shout out Oregon and Portland area lawmakers for being able to take the steps necessary, get the funding, get the work done, so we can actually swim in the Willamette River. That's actually a big deal. When I was growing up, it was like, do not touch that river. Don't go near it. It's dirty. It's gross. You're going to get sick. And they spent a lot of money building a lot of infrastructure to keep our poop out of the river, even when it's rainy. And now, guess what, Ryan? Now you and I can swim in the Willamette, and we will not see any three-eyed fish, at least as far as I know. And Paris can't even do that. Portland, Paris. Count it.
When does the infrastructure kick in to keep the poop from getting in the river in the first place? Because it seems like it still overflows, but that the only thing they've become really good at is cleaning it up really quick. It still happens.
Now, to be fair, if you Google, if anyone's interested, and this is not a sexual term, big pipe project, Portland, just be careful when you Google that, okay?
It's a very specific search.
Yeah, it's a big pipe project, Portland. My understanding is what happens is that they have created, yes, an enormous 30-foot diameter sewage pipe. Normally what would happen without that much volume is that you would have overflows every rain all the time. I think it was something like 150 or 200 times a year. Now it's only during the most torrential downpours that there's too much water that it can't handle it. So no, it's actually not getting into the river in the first place. That's my understanding. So Good on the lawmakers, good on the public for funding it. Portland, Oregon has done something Paris cannot, which is create a poop-free river zone. Let's go.
Next step, homelessness.
Listen, one reasonable thing at a time. Yeah. All right. Anyway. Okay. Zoom is saying 10 minutes. What are we doing?
Speaking of homes, the Trailblazers.
30 minutes into this is crazy.
Because it's us. But speaking of homes,
That's true.
The Portland Trailblazers have signed a lease extension with the city of Portland to maintain their home at Moda, at least through 2030, with an additional 5-year extension that they could offer up through 2035. So this has been a long-standing thing, a long-standing worry that us Blazer fans have had with all the tumultuousness and ownership and everybody hoping, praying, and doing everything they can to try to get Jody Allen to sell this team. Would the team move? The organization itself has signed this new lease agreement. It comes with a couple little interesting caveats, like the Motor Center ownership is getting transferred to the city of Portland for the low price of $1. I feel as though that there was some prices writing involved in that. And then maybe you can help me out, because you have worked in various forms of government and done stuff specifically with the city of Portland. I know this maybe isn't your area of expertise, but the details regarding helping fund the renovations if they should need it. I do know that somewhere in this agreement involves the what was it called, the Albania project of revitalizing
the Vision Trust. Yeah.
Yes, the Albina Vision Trust, and kind of reconnecting some things down there. But are you familiar with any of these details or any of this stuff that's come out in this reporting on this?
Yes, a few of them, not all of them. The Albina Vision Trust, that's a great, thank you. This would have been great for me to think of beforehand. I said it on Twitter. I believe that the Portland Trailblazers partnership with Albina Vision Trust may be the most significant public-private partnership that Portland's ever seen. And here's why. Albina Vision Trust is a 501c3 nonprofit, and they are, to your point, they're trying to reconnect a series of Portland neighborhoods that were mostly demolished by the construction of various highways. Also, some of it was eminent domain to try to make room for Emmanuel Hospital, and they didn't even use some of that. So they bulldozed dozens and dozens of houses, traditionally black neighborhoods, in order to make room for a hospital that was never built. Okay. And now that we have I-5 there, you have disconnected these neighborhoods. And so part of what's happening is that this 501c3 is gathering money. They have different thought partners, artists. They have Nike involved. Nike got involved quite early. They now have the Trailblazers involved.
Now $400 million that Phil Knight and Nike have committed? Okay.
Correct. So the point of this is to try to reconnect this neighborhood, to cap part of I-5 so that people and bikes can traverse it, and then to create affordable housing so that people can actually live there again. This is really, really cool. It's amazing that the Blazers are partnering. I really like that. I'm really dumb. I hadn't thought until you just said it, that part of the city of Portland being willing to do this like stopgap lease with the Blazers, because it's not a long-term lease, was the Blazers' commitment to Albina Vision Trust. And I do think it's important because, Ryan, like, if anyone's familiar with Portland's Inner East Side, there are parts of it that are really cool, and there are parts of it that it's just like desolate hellscape, like nasty old highways and railroad shit that's like not being used anymore. Like, it's truly like, it could be better, and like, and it's going to be better. And like, I think that we're going to look back in 20 or 15, 20 years and be like, dang, like this is like a place that people actually want to go to. There's been, I think pretty advanced planning to get a music venue down there, which is pretty sweet, like an outdoor amphitheater situation, which is, I think Live Nation is leading that effort. So all to say, good things happening in and around the Moda Center. Good job on the Blazers for supporting Albina Vision Trust. It's a good cause.
One of the things in there too that was kind of nice to see is like with the Blazers organization will maintain operations and whatnot for the Moda Center, and I believe that even though with the city's ownership, their cost commitment to any future upgrades and repairs and whatnot is capped at a 50% cost, and that cost is comes out of a fund that's filled by parking fees and everything from all the games down there. So it's not like an additional tax or a levy or anything that's coming out of the actual city's coffers. So that's nice to see that that's part of the agreement, and that the Blazers are still responsible for doing it. I'm happy that all of this stuff is wrapped in together, because one of my biggest complaints, and I know it's a complaint of many people, is that when you go to a Blazer game, there's not much to do down there before or after. It is, there's a couple little cool bars, but they're hard to get to, especially with how tight the traffic environment is.
Isn't it? Again, because of these fucking highways that are just cut through there. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So like to be able to use this funds to reconnect these neighborhoods that have been destroyed over time for greed and all this stuff and government interference, and that's one thing. But then to improve the neighborhood by increasing, venues and activities and restaurants and bars and things that people would want to do down there is just a good thing, because
go there and spend their money there, right? Like, I mean, that's what we want. Like,
and have it be where it's not just because they're down there for a Blazer game or a Winterhawks game or a concert. Have it be an area where having Moda there is cool, but hey, they also have this going on and all this new and nifty stuff and things that I want to do and places I want to eat and things I want to see down there year round. So I'm super excited about it.
And I do think so where we're living in New Haven, as I see Zoom is saying 3:30. Are we gonna break and come back? What are we doing? We're we
can wrap it up with this. I think we've had a good one. We can wrap it this.
Quick point. Well, I want you to get your last point in about. Anyway, I'll leave it. But we live in New Haven, Connecticut. We live right downtown. We live in a new building. We're very fortunate. But this new building also has like a little bodega at the bottom of the building, right? And there's like a little grocery store nearby. And then there's like a Thai place. And then there's like another corner store. And then there's a Japanese place. And then there's a Mexican, like all within walking distance. And so I think these kinds of projects, that you're combining people living in a highly dense area with things that those people living there would appreciate. A dry cleaner, a jewelry store. It's actually quite helpful to have those things. And then also things that tourists would enjoy too. That's the key. You have people who are living there. They have their needs met. You can walk around, do shit. And then people also want to go in there and spend money. Ryan, you had one more topic. Let's hit it quick, rapid fire.
I do. Last little bit. Scoot Henderson. He has changed representations. He is now being represented by Klutch Sports and Rich Paul. I think this puts Rich Paul's total up to like 35, 36 NBA players under his belt. Brandon, does this mean a damn thing? Because I've seen so many overreactions to some of this stuff of that, it's starting now to get Scoot out of Portland and Klutch representation. And for everybody who remembers, Yusuf Nurkic, represented by Klutch, I don't think Yusuf Nurkic ever strong-armed the Blazers into anything.
No, I think it's great. I think Klutch is, a good agency. I feel like they get decent deals for their players. I don't think that their deals are even necessarily like unfriendly to teams either. I'm all for it. I think that Klutch... I would say Yusuf Nurkic is one of the more notable examples of not this, but usually Klutch carries players that they're somewhat discerning in their clientele, and I think it's a good sign. And so I'm all for it. And frankly, LeBron James, as he transitions from his playing career into what does he want to do? Maybe coaching, maybe media, maybe becoming ownership, a bigger part of Klutch, maybe becoming an owner, maybe some combination of those things. I have nothing bad to say about it. Good job, Scoot. Get yours. Loving it.
It's a little weird that rookie going into his second year is changing ownership, but I guess I
think it's a vote of confidence, man.
I do too, but then it's also like I'd have to dive a little more into it. Is he dumping the management that he had when he went with the G League Ignite? Is this what he got directly out of high school for that?
I don't know, but if you want to find out, you can find us at WeLikeTheBlazers.com, or are we good? At Like the Blazers on Twitter.
Not anymore. You ruined it now.
Sorry. We have 30 seconds left. At The Witty Ryan, we appreciate all of you. We're proud to be a part of the Blazers Edge family of podcasts, and with... Wow, I'm really failing here with Trail Daddy,
Rogue
Dave
Media.
Deckard, Rogue Media, and Rip City Roundtable with Corey Dickman. I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. We appreciate you all, and go Blazers.
Go Blazers. Peace out.